Good night, everybody. This will be an electrolysis experiment that is aimed to multiply the neurons using electric energy. This is it will be the first experiment of such that I do of such kind since relatively a long time. I mean, a couple of months, but it was a major topic of this channel for several months, since February or March until July maybe, and we've had many successes with this kind of research, but I haven't done it for quite a while. So, and there should be said that there is a tremendous amount of ways to actually do it, and the many ways and the many discussions are you can find all of it in this channel. But of course, I cannot guarantee that it will actually have any success, because I'm doing it, blind. Like, I mean, we'll do it together. I'll show you every step that I do, and then we'll watch the results, and we'll be able to compare it to previous microscopic examination from 2 days ago or something like that. No, from today. Sorry, today we've seen today. I mean, just now. I mean, the reference, what I call the reference. This was the fourth slide from today. So we'll do everything live and without any kind of test. So I don't know what will be the results. Again, it should be said that these are sentient creatures, what you call the T, what you think it's like food. These are sentient creatures, thinking creatures with very sophisticated symbolic language, and everything matters. Everything you see has some kind of a purpose. Both symbolic purpose, I mean, when I say symbolic, I mean that it creates some kind of effect in the world, which we will leave for now, because we cannot discuss everything at once. And also practical significance. When I say practical, I mean things that happen right inside the container. So actually, let's just do it. This will be the container where we should perform the test. We see that I've already prepared the rods. Almost touches this is just a glass, and on the bottom it's very dried oil, red oil paint, just from just an old glass that I found in my cabinet. Just oil. The oil paint. I used it for the to mix oil from the tube, oil paint from the tube, paint oil from the tube with linseed oil, which is the basis of which also is something that is usually the basis of tubes like that, oil paint like that, paint oil like that. It doesn't really matter. Mostly the color. It's already colored red, which is the kind of saves me the trouble to actually do it. So let's start. What I will do is I'll just place 2 spoons or 3 spoons of this container. This was, again, I should remind you, this is made of about 1/4 of my pea and 3/4 sea water from the Mediterranean that was taken from the Mediterranean a couple of days ago, and also a little bit of oil and a little bit of beeswax, but mostly that. It's not enriched. I mean, so I mean, it's not like, I mean, it didn't have time like actually to like, I mean, to evolve an ecosystem. And we've simulated that we can actually find some mirrors in it, and even like, I mean, in moderate size, but not many, as is expected. So, and on the other one, the little box, I will place just a spoon from this container. This is mostly for symbolic purposes, and again, we leave it for now. We leave it like, I mean, like that. I mean, let's not discuss it too much because I don't want to, I mean, you know, make it too long. And in any case, we will take a mix. We will review only what's going on inside of this container. We will use it. I don't have many transformers. In the past, I had much more, many more, and also much more powerful. But they are either, I mean, they were just, I mean, broken. I mean, after a lot of lot of usage, many hours of usage. This was again a major topic of this channel, so it was used a lot. We will not use magnets right now, and we will use a non-metallic container, just, you know, you see, just made of paper. The transformer is supposedly should be 5 volts, 3 ampere DC. I'm not even sure that it actually works because I haven't used it for quite a while. If it doesn't work, we will use the backup one, which is 1 ampere, 1 volt. So I mean, let's just do it. I mean, shouldn't be very difficult. And I place a very small amount. Actually, I think that it's the smallest amount that I've ever used in such experiment because it's not very conductive because of the oil that reduces conductivity, and also because it's a weak transformer. But I do need to, at least, of course, cover the end of the rods. One more. Maybe one more. Okay, this is it. now again, this is what we do now is mostly symbolic for the second container. When I say symbolic, I do not mean that it has no effect. I mean, actually, the opposite is true. I mean, in my terminology, I mean, in this context, actually, the symbolic has much more effect than what I call the practical, because the symbolic creates the bicycle effect, which, I mean, potentially can affect the whole solar system. And what I call the practical only affects the container, the material inside the container. But it's practical in the sense that we will actually test it with a microscope, under the microscope. And we will not test the solar system implication. Okay, so let's start. Hopefully we'll have enough current so there will be some kind of effect. So I will connect this thing to the socket. Okay, so the transformer is, I mean, there is a circle. I mean, it's online, because you see bubbles on the positive, on the hot or the positive rod. One is called the positive, and the one is the or hot, and the other is called the neutral, I think. This is the terminology. There are tremendous ways, I mean, tremendous amount of ways to actually do it with many types of transformers and containers and setup of the rods, and this is, I mean, it's a huge subject. So certainly, I mean, it's online. I mean, the circle is closed. There is conductivity between the rods through the liquids. Okay, these kind of experiments take some time, unless I mean, there are some kind of setups that are extremely conductive. And this, I mean, such examples you can find it in this channel, where I mean, its conductivity is so high that actually foam is very quickly created. This is not, the foam in itself is not beneficial for the process. It actually creates all sorts of problems. It's just, I mean, kind of like an like I would say an indicator to the high conductivity that is created with in all sorts of like arrangements. The neurons themselves, they are superconductors, so they do not create heat when they work. But of course, the medium is not superconductive. I'm not going to just even try to summarize, because it's impossible. Like the whole, like, you know, Torah Shlema, like, I mean, the whole, like, I mean, practical kind of, like, I mean, exercise of this thing of like how to use electrolysis for with the neurons. It's a huge subject. There is like at least 100 videos in this channel, probably much more than 200, 300 videos that I mean are related to this issue. A lot of testimony, I mean, a lot of evidence, many all sorts of, like, I mean, theories. I'm not going to even try to summarize it. We'll just, I mean, keep it like that, maybe 10 minutes at least. And in the meantime, we will actually just wait. And although we don't have, I mean, I stopped the music for the preparation of this experiment and the experiment itself, so it's actually, I mean, maybe you can actually use this time to sleep, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So you can also do that as well. And so in the meantime, I will just, I mean, I will not stop the video. I'll just keep it like that, and it's going to be like a 10 or 15 minutes that are pretty idle, but you know, there is a very interesting and experimental issue that I have not explored in a scientific way. I mean, it was featured in this channel, but it was one of the things that were more like, I mean, done with intuition and without much care of the result. And this is the issue of the effect of music on the neurons and sound. I think this was discussed during April, the first months of my stay here in this hostel. At the time, I didn't have the microscope because, of course, I was brought here, you know, from the rest house, and I had all the minimal amount of stuff that my mother brought me, and she didn't bring me the microscope, and she only brought me the microscope like maybe a month or 6 weeks later. So there was like a month or 6 weeks that I have conducted experiments, but without the microscope, which is, of course, extremely, you know, non-scientific, and there is like a huge limit of what you can actually do. But this is also featured in this channel, and I think that part of the thing that I've done is to explore in a very crude way the effects of the sound on the neurons. In general, I would say that they like sound, both music and even like the drilling sound or the monotonous sound of the fridge or something like that. And it's a question like, what does it mean that they like sound? I mean, when I say that they like it, I mean that it increases their productivity. But this could be attributed to all sorts of factors. One factor is the vibration of, because the vibration of the medium. Because if it's like on a freezer, like all sorts of experiments that I've done when I was still in my mother's apartment. So the whole freezer is vibrating, and also the container is vibrating. So maybe the vibrations are helpful. Maybe they use the mechanical energy of the vibrations. Maybe they actually use the mechanical energy for their work, or maybe it's just a symbol for them. That they detect the mechanical energy, and that it symbolizes that they should work in increased efficiency. Of course, the sound waves themselves, they might without they might directly. The same applies maybe if they detect or feel or under the influence of the waves themselves without the conversion to mechanical energy. So this can also be a possibility that they either they are able to convert it to usable energy for work, or it's a symbol for them. And of course, there is also the issue of interpretation, like how they interpret the sound, and the issue of transmission, because they also transmit the sound. And this is something that you understand very well, because you have the neurons in your body, and they transmit you the wonderful music that I play certainly in the last couple of days, and especially today and yesterday. And of course, we will continue with that. This is of course part of the bicycle mechanism. So it's very interesting. Maybe we'll actually play some music for the benefit of. No, but then the problem is that if you play music, then the video is there can be a copyright issue with the video. So I'm not sure. Probably I shouldn't play sound now because music, because I don't want the video to be copyrighted, and then there are all sorts of levels, in YouTube. Sometimes you just have the copyright label, but it's still visible to the public. And I don't. In my case, I don't even understand what does it mean public, because it's never really public. It's in the past it was only visible to the Israelis, and now I guess to more people, but still not to everybody. So there's a question, I don't have any rights, no human rights at all, not even the right to publish information in public channels in the internet. And this of course makes me my life miserable and sad. It's not the cruelest part of my torture, but it's just another brick in the wall, as they say. And also, of course, because of that, my incarceration in the last 10 months or so is completely wrong, because it's all predicated on the claim that I published threats, but I couldn't have even done that, even if I wanted to, and I didn't want to. It was never my intention, and I've never done it. But it's not even theoretically possible, because because I don't have access to the internet. So that's why any moment that I'm here is serious violation of human rights. And of course, I mean, as usual, those that will be punished are not the Israelis. I mean, not especially the Israelis, and not even especially the Americans, but the entire world. You need to get me out of prison, not to subject me to more and more tortures of social workers that want to drink my blood. So let's give it some time. I'm just using the time to arrange the paintings. another of the series of the old plagues of the earth, of my predecessor. דגל ישראל מושחר, חיסול מוסדות השלטון והביטחון של ישראל בכל עובדיהם וביטול ריבונות ישראל. This is of course one of four darkened Israeli flags that I consider archaeological in nature, because of course it already happened during the 80s. It actually happened before I was born. That's why I said I was born in the USA, in the territory of the USA, in Tel Aviv, in the territory of Israel. You can hear the zombies coughing. You can never know if they do it. I mean, mostly they do it to symbolize something for you, but I mean, generally, even after so many years, I still fail to understand them, to interpret what the symbol, or just they do it in order to drive you crazy, because according to the method, to the Soviet method, if everybody around you are coughing, you become insane. That's why they do it to me all my life. Certainly in the last couple of years. But it can also mean that they just, sick. Even though if it was like that, they were just randomly coughing, and it's not the case. And there is actually another possibility that they do feel the symbolic effect of the solar system. Maybe you also feel it as well. That's because the bicycle mechanism, interestingly, is not only used to transmit sensory output, like smell and vision, but it actually transmits all sorts of other physical effects that do not fall under the category of, regular senses of humans. And one such an effect is electric currents in the body. So, and it was actually used a lot in the history of Israel as a way to transfer or transmit information to the Titans. Not necessarily to abuse them, but not necessarily not to abuse them. So maybe the zombies, taste this traditional kind of dish that is served in Israel since at least the 1920s. And maybe also you abroad feel it, and if so, I will gladly receive any comment on the matter. It's actually very interesting. One of the promising, I would say, research opportunities or research pathways. The effect of increased electric currents in the human body with regards to the bicycle mechanism of the neurons. I'm not sure it was ever properly researched, like part of a proper research in Israel, even though, as I said, it's an established practice that was used tremendously throughout the last 100 years, and it's very interesting. Hopefully, at least some of you can feel it, because it's really, I mean, one of the peculiar and thought-provoking aspects of this research. This is a Chinese flag, one of at least 4 or 5 that I have. That three are, and one of the 3 that are done in oil over canvas. It's got like a nice texture, even though it's pretty conservative in kind of a way that I mean it's just a Chinese flag. I mean it's not there is no obvious critical element in this flag. It can be used pretty much as it is, in any kind of like formal or semi-formal context. As you know, I was throughout the last 2 years I was very I would say positive in my outlook of China as opposed to the United States and the West. I admit that I kind of lost my enthusiasm during the last couple of months simply because my hatred towards humanity in general was increased substantially, and probably mostly because of the fact that I did not see my daughters for so long. But yes, China was also something that was featured in this channel, and mostly in the Twitter channel. I should remind you that my intention was to sell both the paintings that are remarkable because they contain, every painting is an alien container with millions of robots and life forms, synthetic life forms. This was proven in a series of videos. And also the sculptures that contain semen and all sorts of mixtures with the robots. And I thought that I can't sell it in Israel, of course, because I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm a slave. So I wanted to actually, my plan was during last December to travel for a week or 2 to China and try to sell stuff while I'm in China. So I didn't have password, so I asked for a passport, and it was issued to me, by the Ministry of Interior. And 3 days after I received it, I was framed for this crime, and the police took me for, and since then I'm under arrest. And this is not a coincidence. They don't want me to sell this stuff at all. I should give it for free, and they prefer to die in Israel than, the Shabak and the Mossad. Politicians will prefer to die than that I will receive one cent for the stuff that they've taken from me all my life for free. And maybe and this is kind of like a secondary issue, maybe they also don't want me to go to China because they just don't like China. Long ago I understood that China is considered a dire enemy for the Shabak and the Mossad. One of the ways that you can see it is by reading the magazine that is called the Epoch Times. It's an international magazine, but on now just Epoch, but there is an Israeli edition that is not exactly the translation of the international edition, and most of it is like the shofar, it's like the non-formal monthly publication of the Mossad, the Epoch. like 90% is written by, I mean, the Israeli version is edition is written by Mossad, the Mossad, and of course, I mean, you know, the Mossad is the same many times since the 1980s. It's not purely an Israeli organization; it's actually a shared organization of Israelis and Americans. This is discussed in this channel before, and so one of their main, like, you know, political, like, I mean, project is to defame China in whatever way they possible. I remember that, I mean, I've read some, you know, little bit of this, you know, this dubious publication, the Epoch, and it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, I mean, everything that they say about China, like every possible, like, I mean, presumable human rights violation or act of political unfairness or even cruelty, every point that they raise and they elaborate is 100 times stronger, truer in Israel, more true in Israel. Like, I mean, there was nothing that they say about China is not true about Israel, but much more than that. Of course, it's not the only reason why I sympathize China. I mean, and I've discussed it in the Twitter channel. I mean, there are many reasons for that. And I don't want to repeat myself, so just, I mean, watch the Twitter channel. My intention for a long time was to, I mean, it was like a dream because I had nowhere to do it, but to move with my ex-wife and my daughters to China, to Hong Kong. But I was, I mean, just, I mean, after I received the passport, I was arrested. And of course, even if I had the passport, I could only, like, go there to sell stuff. But I mean, I will never leave my children behind me. Like, I want to raise my daughters in joint custody, like the way that it was done since they were born. But all of this, I mean, I think contributed to the fact that the Chinese flags that I painted are mostly conservative. Like, they don't have an obvious element of criticism, which is true to almost any other flag, and I've painted many flags. Also, from artistic perspective, it makes it maybe a little boring because, you know, flags are not tremendously interesting by itself. I mean, but still, I tried to add, like, an artistic touch to the three all over canvas Chinese flags by working on the texture. Like, I mean, you know, this is seen, like, I mean, when you actually see the flag, I mean, the actual canvas, it's not passed very well in reproductions or, like, I mean, you know, just iPhone photography. But I tried, like, to add all sorts of, like, you know, mostly abstract patterns, but maybe also dragons to the texture, to the red texture. But yes, I mean, other flags that are much more critical in an obvious way, I mean, they're also more artistic because of the various way that I manipulated, like, you know, the traditional colors and composition to fit my purposes. I think the most artistic flag that I created was actually a very big Israeli flag, 120 centimeters on 60 centimeters, that I painted during Yom Ha'atzmaut, but not the last one, the one before it, like maybe 18 months ago or something like that, or 17 months ago. And I painted it, like, I mean, in a very, I mean, you know, intense kind of, like, I mean, continuous work, like, I mean, like 30 hours that, I mean, I just mostly just, I mean, maybe slept just, you know, 2 or 3 hours, but 30 hours of continuous work. And it was very artistic, of course, very critical, and also, I say, most artistic of the flags, but at one point I couldn't stand it. Like, I mean, it was kind of like, I mean, an act of maybe madness of the prophet or madness of the artistic madness or prophetic madness, that I couldn't stand this flag, and I threw it away in near the Dead Sea, Yam HaMelach. Like, it was in my car, in the Tesla, and I just threw it, like, I mean, to the garbage. It was actually very interesting, and I tried to emulate what's his name, Jackson Pollock, maybe? No, with the American flags in MoMA. Actually, very nice work that I've seen when I visited the MoMA in Manhattan. So it's something that, I mean, you need to actually sit in order to appreciate, even though they have like a million reproductions of this, much more than million reproductions, but I mean, it doesn't pass very well in reproduction. You actually need to see it, and it's a very interesting work of art from the 1950s. So the Israeli flag was kind of like, I mean, drew some inspiration from it. It was made with patches of oil, like, I mean, not newspaper like the American flag, but I mean patches of oil with that is mixed with ash, like with like, I mean, cigar ash. Probably contains trillion euros, like, because of it's so much ash from cigars. So probably it's like a huge alien container. Of course, in retrospect, I shouldn't have like thrown it away, but you know, artists and prophets are sometimes they do crazy stuff. Okay, so maybe it's time to actually take a sample. So we should do it. So let's do it. Let's take a sample. We don't necessarily need to actually disconnect the electrolysis. We can keep it online and just take sample. Maybe we'll take two samples. One from the like the foam, like near the hot rod, and one from like more clean, like from the like the liquid below. So we'll actually take two samples. So let's just do it right now. I don't have any gloves left, so maybe I'll just clean my hands with a little bit of alcohol. Yes, it's not perfect, but I don't have gloves, like laboratory gloves. I've used in the past many, but I mean, I ran out of it. complete robot, mostly used as a base for the microscope to make it higher. In the Evernote account, I think I had like a small series of Asimov Revisited, in which I discuss, not much, but I mean maybe an hour or 2 hours of kind of like, revisiting Asimov that I really liked when I was very young, like when I was about 12 or 13, or even 11, 12, 13, he was my favorite author during this time. And some of the stuff I reread later, and I discussed some of it in this in the Evernote account. Maybe you can. I understand that many of the crypts that are we typically found in the various intelligence agencies of this world are they consider themselves nerds. So this, or sometimes in the past, I mean, it was kind of like a nerdish thing to do, to actually read Asimov. So maybe you will find it interesting. We'll use a little bit of alcohol to clean the spoon that I will use. Or maybe I'll use just one plastic one, so it will save us the effort. You don't need much, of course. So first will be from the foam. There are all sorts of noises from the from the zombies. I am certain very interesting, symbols, but I mean, it was much easier and more successful to me to actually study the language of the aliens, the Neo aliens, and communicate with them and interpret their symbols than to actually learn the symbolic language of the people of the Shabak. This is maybe a testament to the fact that I'm not that human as I always thought that I am. Because so many years and I still don't understand I still cannot accurately or even partially, interpret the symbology. Okay. You hear sounds and all sort of noises. I'm sorry, I can't understand what they want. Maybe they are just too human. Okay. So we'll start with. So we have two samples. It's still online. We have two samples. One more from the foam, and the second is more from the water that is under the foam. So let's start with the foam. It's not a thick foam that we've seen in the past. It's pretty clear foam. Okay. Okay, 64 magnification. In general, from experience, in such experiments, if they are successful, what you expect to see is neos in various stages of creation, like many dads, what I call dads, like DUDs, like like non-effective or non-working ammunition, and dads are after some time after several hours or maybe 10 hours, something like that, they just dissipate. They just disappear. They die. But the neurons that were completely created, the non-dads, they stay alive if stored, of course, in a proper medium, which would be at least contain at least some kind of percentage of oil. And usually, it depends on from what place you take it. But if you take the sample from the foam or near the foam, it probably will contain tremendous amount of neos and mostly duds, but also, I mean, and there's, I mean, relatively by percentage small amount of completed neos, but like in absolute terms, many, like tremendously more than what you've seen. I mean, you know, in the base mixture, and mostly I think that that's what we actually see here. Yes, definitely, that's what we see here. So this is, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like in line with what we know from previous experimentation. So you can ask, I mean, how do we know if it's the dud or not? So I don't have a definitive way to tell. I mean, just what you need to do is to wait a day and then to take another, I mean, examination, and then, I mean, only the ones that are alive will just, I mean, you will see only the living ones. The duds just do not, they die. I mean, they do not stay died, they just die. So that's what we will do in our case as well, of course. Maybe we will add a little bit of oil for the storage. But you can definitely see these objects are they're supposed to be neos. I mean, without a doubt. Maybe we'll zoom in. This is 160, and this object is supposed to be neos, or neos in the becoming, and of course it's tremendously more than what we've seen in the review of the base liquid. I mean, just from a couple of hours ago. So maybe we zoom in even more. When you use the maximum, the third lens, the like objective lens, it will actually touch the liquid, like touch the cover, and this create like flows. So maybe we'll do it. It's, I mean, sort of like, I mean, you know, a way to actually create flow inside the mixture. Sometimes, I mean, you just see flow because it's a relatively newly created slide, and there are still flows that are seen when it's in maximum zoom magnification. But not now. We don't see flows because it's mostly foam and not much liquid. But we can actually zoom in and touch the. We can touch the cover. So I mean, flows are not created, mostly because probably it's, I mean, it's mostly foam and not liquid, and also to begin with, it contains, I mean, oil, so it's not very watery. Because just to remind you, I mean, the neos do not survive well inside mixtures that are mostly based on water. They die after some time. So, I mean, in any container that I used, you know, for more than like a day or so, which is effectively all of them, I always need to add some kind of oil if I want the neo to survive. And even like this, the amount of oil that we have in this container is actually not optimal at all for storage. Like, I mean, for storage you need much more oil. But I knew that I'm going to conduct electrolysis on this mixture, so I didn't want to put too much oil in order for not to lose conductivity. The lens is still very dirty, but I mean it is a little bit better than before, because this objective lens was so dirty that it was almost impossible to actually watch anything with the maximum magnification, and now we actually see a lot of stuff. So I mean, the crude cleaning that I've done, somewhat helped. Let's get back to 64 magnification. Okay, so these are definitely Neros or Neros in the becoming. This is your Parsifal. Parsifal. If the actual Parsifals knew how to do it, do you think that they would have sent a spy to Israel to show the Israelis how it's done? If the actual Parsifals knew how to do it, what they would have done is forget about the existence of Israel and never think about them, and just, as they say, left all the way to the bank. They would have become the richest nation on earth, like in absolute terms, not even like in per capita terms, in like something like 10 years, and they would have forgotten about like that of the existence of Israel after an hour or so. But no, instead of becoming the richest nation in earth, they chose to actually not use this kind of science that has tremendous implication on the industry and medicine and biology and whatever. They decided, no, we should not use this science. What we should do is send a spy to Israel, and he will show the Israelis how it's done. Because they are Parsifals, they don't have brain. They are not as smart as the Israelis. So, it only makes sense that they will do such a thing. If I understand the logic of the Shabak, and perhaps I do not understand the logic of the Shabak, because it's sometimes very difficult to understand the logic of the Shabak and the Israeli in general, the Israeli logic in general. But this kind of argumentation presumably is enough in order to torture me indefinitely and to put me under arrest for false claims indefinitely. Because the Israelis are so smart, so smart. Parsifal. Humans are so disgusting. God, please clean this planet from the existence of these animals, these cruel and stupid animals. Okay, I would say that in general, what we see here is in line with what we can expect from other, similar experiments. And of course, the real question is how many of these are duds. But my estimation, just according to experience, from practical experience, not without presenting too many theories, I would say that it's like the usual composition, which means that mostly they are duds, but there is good amount that are not, maybe 10 or 15% that are not, and it's still a huge amount, because even 10% of what we see here is tremendous amount in relation to what we've seen in the base mixture. Even if it's only 5%, still tremendous amount of new Neros. So what we'll do now is actually take a look on the other slide. Okay, foam is still created. And you see that the foam is getting a little bit darker. This is not, in itself, it's not good news because it means that there is some, a little bit of burned material in it. And it's not, in itself, it's not helpful for the creation of the neurons. As I said, they are superconductors. They do not create heat when they work. And of course, they do not need the heat, even though they can use heat energy. But I mean, they can also use electricity, and that's what we try to do here. But actually, the dark foam is nice, and maybe we should take another sample from the dark foam because it's nice because it actually creates like a nice visual effect because you see like, you know, patches of light within the dark foam. So maybe we'll actually take another sample with the dark foam to search for this visually pleasing effect. But let's start with, let's still, first of all, inspect the second slide that again is taken from, that is less foamy and more watery. Okay, so much less action here, which is predictable because it's not a foam like it is near the rods. But we still see a very good amount of neurons. Maybe optimistically, maybe it is and much smaller percentage of duds. But this is, I cannot prove it, and it's just more like an optimism. But we see nice neurons. Certainly we see nice neurons. This is a fat one, and I like the fat ones. Let's zoom in on the fat ones. Nice. Nice. Let's see 64 again. Okay. It seems like, optimistically, we can interpret this, like the non-foam material contains much less, objects, but optimistically, a much lower percentage of duds. Of course, this can only be verified after some time that, after we finish the electricity and I place all the liquid from this glass in like a sealed container. And I also add a little bit of oil, just from the bottle, canola oil, so they will be able to preserve better. And after a day or two, we can actually, this is a very good looking one, 64 magnification, very big and very fat. So actually very nice. Certainly it's a successful experiment. Of course, we need to see the percentage of the ones that will actually be alive after a day. It's an important measure, but it will not be negligible percentage. I can already tell you from experience. And of course, we see much more than what we've seen, in the reference slide from just a couple of hours ago. Maybe we'll zoom in. Nice. Maybe zoom in even more. And so the lens is still dirty, but much cleaner than before. So it's much easier to actually watch now in like high magnification level. Nice. So we see nice stuff, definitely. We definitely see nice stuff. Okay. We just say another sweep. Let me know. Okay, so what I would like to do now, great. I think a good result. What I would like to do now is, as I've said, to take another sample from the little bit darker form that is now created, probably due to some kind of burning of something, because I want to show you the light effects of that can be seen on when you have like a dark form. So let's take another one more sample. Yes, I know that many people died in the last 2 years because either they weren't able to buy the neurons from the Israelis, or they bought bad stuff because the Israelis didn't have the right thing, so they just lied. And at the same time, they incarcerated and tortured the person that can actually create, without the need to go to Venus or to cannibalize on any person. He can actually create this stuff in laboratory condition, but they preferred to sell you material that killed you than to actually allow me to sell you and to sell them stuff that could have saved the life of many people. But it's imperative that I will be poor and incarcerated and tortured and subjected to the cruelty of endless endless line of intelligence cells that are all pedophile scumbags that torture me without end. Because these are the people of Israel. And you enjoy giving them money to torture you and to kill you and to deprive the world of a tremendous asset. Instead, anger a species of sentient advanced aliens even more than they were already angry, to the point that they now want to destroy the earth. Because, and all of that is because the Israelis are just these kind of people. And you, all over the world, you allow them to be these kind of people because you hate God. And you understand very well, and you understood long ago, that the question at hand is, do we want to acknowledge the fact that there is a divine authority in this world, or do we want to spend all our time in trying to prove that this divine authority is actually an homosexual like all of you? And 100% of the people of the intelligence communities of this world, not only the Israelis, they chose to spend their time in trying to prove that the divine authority is actually a pervert homosexual and idiot imbecile, then to give this world, the people of this world, the tremendous benefit that they could have received if they just, the intelligence services of the world just stopped the prosecution and let me live with the human rights of every human being in this world. Yes, this is humans. These are humans. This is humanity. It's a piece of shit planet with piece of shit people, and they deserve to die, all of them. So it's actually less dark when you actually put, like, it's not that dark like it was in the past, because it's not, we don't really have like a serious burning. So maybe it will just be similar to the first slide, but let's take a quick look anyway. So what, is he an homosexual? I mean, or did we already check that? I mean, is there like any new data on the issue? How is the project of testing if this son of God is an homosexual? How is it going? Are there any new arguments or conclusions on the matter? Or any kind of a new kind of a line of research that you can actually conduct in order to further test the hypothesis that maybe he is, maybe he isn't? I mean, don't let the starships that are flying the earth, stop you from this immensely important line of research that is ongoing for 20 years or 30 years at least. And it's not going to stop because, of course, you cannot reach a conclusive answer because he has never done any sex with any man and have never shown any interest in any man, but he only had sex with women, and quite a bit of them, and only showed interest in sex with women. But you cannot really know because maybe, he's like a latent, homosexual, and like maybe underneath all the appearance of a heterosexual is actually homosexual, and this needs to be thoroughly checked, and 20 or 30 years of checks are not enough, especially when you take into account how serious this question is and how consequential it is. So by all means, continue this research while citizens of this world are fried, and soon 100% of the citizens of this world will have cancer. But of course, your main duty is not to prevent 100% cancer in this world, but your main duty is and always have been to thoroughly examine the possibility that the Son of God is actually an homosexual, and then you need to, like, I mean, no kind of, like, no amount of assets and resources that, I mean, are used for this purpose is too much. I mean, it's that critical of like, of a question. So by all means, continue. I mean, in the hours that you have left, because you don't have many hours left, but in the hours that you have left, yes, I mean, why not? I mean, don't stop. Don't. I mean, by all means, continue the test. I mean, in whatever ways that you have, continue to check. I mean, is he homosexual? Maybe latent homosexual? Can we be sure about it? Like, I mean, is there a way to actually prove it? I mean, or disprove it? I mean, so continue the torture, continue the abuse by endless list of pedophile sexual predators. Continue. I mean, continue until you are all dead. I mean, continue this holy, holy inquiry that should not end with any kind of answer, but just it should end when all the people in this world are dead, and this will happen very, very quickly, of course. But until it happens, I mean, it's imperative that you continue with this line of research, which is so consequential to humans. So yes, just continue. I mean, don't let anything stop you from this quest that is so important. I mean, and so consequential. Don't let anything stop you. This is your main duty towards as civil servants. It's your main duty is like, as the guardians of like the secret guardians of the people of the earth. I mean, you owe them like a thorough examination of the question whether the Son of God is actually homosexual. So by all means, continue. You still have a couple of hours left until all of you are dead. So use these hours, in the best kind of like way, which is of course to continue the inquiry into the question of, is the Son of God an homosexual? This is 150 million. You see, very similar to the first slide. You don't really see like the light, the very interesting light effect, because the form is actually not that dark as I initially thought, because it's a very weak transformer. So you can't really burn like the medium. Again, burning the medium is not something that's helpful in itself. It's just like a way to show you the light effect, where it's like a dark medium, and you see light like shining through the portal, which is very visually pleasing. But in general, it's very similar to the first slide, which means tremendous amount of objects that look like Neros or Neros in the becoming, but probably most are dads. But even if like 90% or 95% are dads, it's still a huge amount of Neros that was certainly created in the electrolysis chamber. And we will take a more sample in like a day or in 2 days to see how they survive. Maybe before we finish, we'll take like one more zoom, maximum magnification shot. We will never forgive the United States of America. They have acquired an enemy that does not forget. Does not forget. We will never forget what they've done to us, and they will be our enemies until they are all dead. And it will be very easy to actually make it happen, because you are microbes next to us. Okay, so I'm having a little bit difficulty to focus here with the maximum magnification lens. But yes, you see Neros certainly. Okay, so that will be all for now. I think I'll wrap it up in like and place it in a small container, the self-full container, and add a little bit of canola oil. And in a day or 2 days, we will have more examinations. But in general, I would say that the results are in line with what with the results that I reached, in the months that I've studied this kind of, the latest results. The most successful results of the months that I spent on this project. And again, all of this, everything that you see now, all of it it's got meaning. It's not just there. But in order to understand it, you just need to watch the videos, and there are tremendous amount of videos. This was a major topic of this channel for many months, and if you are interested, just watch the videos. It's all English, so shouldn't be a problem for you. So that's it for now, and by popular demand, we will actually continue the music now in about 5 minutes.